Chosen one. Time pauses for you right now. Heaven interrupts everything around you because this message cannot wait. Archangel Michael stands beside you, his presence shaking the air around your spirit. His voice comes like thunder wrapped in calm fire. Someone is plotting against you. You feel it deep in your chest, the pull of something trying to invade your peace. But even as fear rises, another voice answers, "You are protected." Oh, for weeks you have felt the pressure in the atmosphere, faces smiling, words kind, yet something in you whispering, "It's not right." That is not paranoia, it is discernment. Heaven has been warning you in small ways. You have been sensing what others cannot. Because your spirit is tuned to a higher frequency, the same archangel who guarded Eden is now guarding your steps. In the stillness, he tells you, you are not crazy. They really did plan against you, but heaven already planned for you. This is the hour when secrets are revealed. The masks are falling. Those who smiled while speaking your name with flattery will soon be exposed by their own words. You won't need revenge. Heaven will bring the truth into daylight. We are reminded through the words of the prophet Daniel, chapter 2, verse 22. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him. Every hidden scheme is losing its cover. The light that exposes also protects. The traps that were set in darkness will now become evidence of your elevation. They thought they were building your downfall, but heaven says they were building your testimony. You were never just another soul passing through time. The enemy saw your potential long before you did. That is why opposition found you early. It wasn't punishment, it was prophecy. The trials were heaven's way of strengthening your wings before the storm. Now Michael speaks again, his sword drawn and burning. The countdown has begun. You have 2 minutes of spiritual time to align your heart before the shift begins. These 2 minutes are not literal, they are prophetic. A final window, before what was concealed breaks open. This is the hour to silence fear and activate faith. Do not look at the faces of those who betrayed you. Lift your eyes to the throne that vindicates you. Everything that happened, every rumor, every wound was preparation. You have been trained by pain to recognize purpose. What once confused you will now become clarity. The very pressure that almost broke you is now the power that will launch you. Heaven says, do not react. Stand still. The Lord Himself is handling what you cannot. You will see how swiftly divine justice moves. Those who dug pits for you will fall into them. You will see the unseen hand of God turning darkness into light and betrayal into breakthrough. Chosen one, you are being pulled into divine awareness. That uneasy stirring in your spirit is the trumpet of heaven. Wake up. Prepare. Position yourself. Do not waste these final 2 spiritual minutes on anger or worry. Use them to align with divine order. Forgive quickly. Guard your peace. As the archangel's wings open, light surrounds you. The enemy's plan was never about destroying you. It was about distracting you. But now your focus has returned. And that alone breaks the spell. The moment you recognize the attack, you neutralize it. You stand in victory, surrounded by angels like a wall of light. No whisper or hidden weapon can pierce through divine covering. Heaven declares, this one belongs to me. Oh, if this message resonates in your spirit, type 777 below as your mark of agreement. And before this moment fades, like, share, and subscribe to stay connected to the flow of revelation that keeps you protected. The countdown continues. 2 minutes remain. Heaven is still speaking. The air feels charged now, alive with unseen motion. Somewhere beyond what your eyes can perceive, the Archangel draws his blade again, not to strike, but to guard. Sparks of divine energy ripple through the atmosphere, sealing what has just been spoken. You can almost hear the echo of wings brushing through light. Heaven's attention is still on you. The message didn't end. It was only the opening of a gate. The moment you said yes in your spirit, the shift began. The next 2 minutes of obedience will determine the next 2 years of favor. Stand alert, for the Spirit of God is still moving. You are not waiting for rescue anymore. You are walking in revelation. The plot has been exposed, the protection established. Now breathe, chosen soul. And remember, when heaven speaks once, it echoes forever. You begin to notice the subtle tremors beneath the surface of ordinary days, the laughter that feels hollow, the conversation that hides something sharp beneath its politeness, the whispers that stop when you enter a room. There is no visible proof, yet your spirit flinches as if it already knows. Someone is plotting not with weapons of iron, but with words, envy, and deceit. What they do not realize is that heaven has already turned its gaze upon them. The whisper in the shadows is quieter than truth, yet more persistent. It moves through unseen corridors, shaping confusion, feeding suspicion, distorting what is pure. You sense it not as sound, but as pressure, a weight upon your soul, a disturbance that steals your breath for a moment. The Holy Spirit nudges you gently. Pay attention, but do not panic, for the darkness always overplays its hand before the light exposes it. Archangel Michael's tone shifts. No longer thunder, but a blade sliding free of its sheath, measured. Resolute. What was spoken in secrecy will soon echo in the open. He says, you will not need to defend yourself. Heaven will do it for you. W. It's strange how kindness can become the door that lets deceit walk in. You remember smiles that felt safe, only to discover they were masks. You gave trust freely, unaware that some hearts saw it as weakness. But heaven says not to regret your gentleness. Compassion is not a flaw, it is proof of your divine nature. Light will always attract both seekers and pretenders. The unseen realm hums with tension. Every lie, every hidden motive, every false promise, it all forms a fragile web. And heaven is already unraveling it, thread by thread. You may not see the unraveling yet, but you will soon feel the release. Truth never arrives quietly, but it always arrives on time. The Spirit of the Lord once said through the psalmist, chapter 37, verse 15, their swords will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken. This is not a curse, it is consequence. The energy they release returns to them. The words they used as weapons will fall upon their own hearts. The snare they built for you will become their own cage. Heaven's justice is poetic, precise, and unshakable. You begin to sense that peace is replacing confusion. The air feels lighter. The invisible warfare that once clouded your thoughts now seems distant, powerless. God is lifting the weight from your spirit, peeling away the residue of fear. The Archangel stands watch, wings spread wide, not in aggression, but in authority. He guards the line between your destiny and their deception. Still, the warning remains: stay alert. But stay gentle. Do not fight with the same weapons your enemies use. Do not let bitterness stain what grace has purified. The greatest proof of divine protection is restraint, when you know the truth yet choose silence, trusting that heaven's timing is more powerful than human explanation. Each day that passes, the plans against you grow weaker. Their energy fades. Their influence dissolves. You are stepping into a season where even silence will work in your favor. The enemy will tire of chasing you because your peace is untouchable. The archangel whispers once more, voice low but steady, do not look behind you. The plot loses power the moment you stop feeding it with fear. The words sink deep into your spirit. You realize that what once frightened you now feels almost small. The power of fear lies in attention, and you have turned your eyes back to the light, somewhere unseen. Chains crack and fall, not around your wrists, but around your perception. You are being set free from the need to understand every betrayal. You no longer seek to expose, you simply walk in clarity. That is how heaven wins, by lifting you above the battlefield instead of keeping you in it. The whisper in the shadows grows weaker. Fainte, then gone. Only the still presence of light remains watchful, unbothered, victorious. The war ends not with noise, but with peace so profound that even darkness forgets how to speak. The air feels cleansed now, every breath lighter than before. You sense the archangel's presence fading into calm radiance, leaving only a shield of stillness around your soul. Light hums quietly, as if heaven itself sighs in relief. The unseen war pauses, but not because it's finished, because victory has already been secured in silence. Your heart steadies. The whispers are gone. What remains is awareness, a holy calm that says, you are seen, protected, and beyond the reach of every hidden plot. The air feels different now, dense with unseen movement, heavy with truth. Something inside you knows, this is the moment when masks fall. The people who plotted quietly, the ones who smiled in your face but whispered your name in the dark, they can no longer hide. Heaven has spoken, and light is searching every shadow. It begins as a restlessness in your spirit. You don't have evidence, but you know. The same spirit that guided prophets and warriors is awakening in you now. It isn't paranoia, it's divine perception. You are not guessing, you are discerning. The Holy Spirit is teaching you to read silence, to feel the shift in energy before betrayal speaks a word. The archangel's voice returns, low and resonant, carrying both fire and calm. Every hidden conversation about you is now being recorded in heaven's court. He says, every motive shall reveal itself. Every mask will decay under the weight of light. 1. Your heart clenches as you remember faces' smiles that comforted you, only to twist when you turned away. But do not grieve them anymore. They were lessons, not losses. Heaven used them to teach you the shape of deception, so you would never mistake flattery for loyalty again. The voice of heaven resounds in the book of Proverbs, chapter 12, verse 19. Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment. 1. Lies can echo, but they cannot last. And you, truth carrier, light bearer, will outlast every word spoken against you. The archangel shows you the spiritual battlefield now, where words once formed chains, You see them snapping in mid-air, one by one, until only silence remains. This exposure is not about humiliation, it's about liberation. You needed to see clearly to rise correctly. You are not being punished, you are being purified. Heaven never uncovers without a reason. It only reveals when elevation is near. You stand still, listening to the unraveling. It's almost beautiful. Watching darkness destroy itself. The same plots meant to trap, you are now turning inward. They will collapse by their own design. Heaven does not need to strike it, simply lets truth breathe. The Archangel leans closer, voice now gentle. Do not let bitterness take root. You have seen too much to fall into resentment. You were chosen to see, not to hate. You realize that your power is not in retaliation but in revelation. You fight best when you refuse to descend, even as names, rumors, and accusations try to swirl around you. A strange calm fills your heart. This is the peace that surpasses understanding, the kind that doesn't wait for an apology. You are not bound to what they said. You are bound to what heaven has spoken. The light grows brighter around you, almost blinding now. It hums with clarity, like an invisible wind whispering. You know who you are. The shadows have no place left to hide. Every spiritual plot is dissolving into dust. Every unseen attack exposed before it touches you. This is the moment to make a declaration, not with pride, but with spiritual awareness. Type, "The veil is lifted," in the comments below. When you write those words, you're not performing an action, you're performing an awakening. It is your symbolic act of agreement with heaven, saying, I choose clarity over confusion, revelation over illusion. Heaven records declarations like these. They become your signatures in the unseen realm, proof that you understood and that your sight has been restored. So stand tall. Chosen one, let the veil stay lifted. Let truth remain your shelter. The season of deception has ended. The season of discernment has begun. The light around you steadies, no longer blinding, but clear like morning after a long storm. You feel the shift in your soul. You are no longer reacting. You are perceiving. This is what divine awareness feels like. Peace without ignorance. Vision without fear. The Archangel steps back, not leaving, but allowing you space to grow. His presence lingers like heat after flame. He whispers, you have learned to see beyond faces, beyond words. Guard this gift. Well, it is your spiritual compass for every new season. In the silence that follows, heaven writes something invisible across your heart. Discernment is not suspicion, it is stewardship. You now understand that seeing darkness is not a burden, it's a responsibility to protect what carries light within you. You breathe deeply. Realizing this moment marks more than exposure, it marks empowerment. The veil is gone, and so is confusion. You walk forward lighter, stronger, crowned with wisdom born from wounds, and heaven smiles, knowing clarity has finally met calling. The silence after revelation is strange. It feels both heavy and holy, as though the air itself is waiting for your next move. The masks have fallen, the whispers have faded, and now the question rises quietly in your chest. What do I do with what I know? Archangel Michael does not rush to answer. He stands beside you, his wings folded, the gleam of divine fire resting along the edge of his blade. He does not look at you with pity, but with power. Now you learn command. He says, you have seen the plot. You have felt the betrayal. Now you must stand in authority. Authority, you realize, is not noise. It is not vengeance, nor pride. It is the calm that knows heaven fights on your behalf. You remember the sleepless nights when confusion tormented you, when you kept replaying conversations, wondering what you did wrong. But now the Spirit whispers, you were never losing, you were being trained. The Archangel points toward the unseen horizon. His eyes blaze with purpose. Your command is obedience. He says, your weapon is peace. Your defense is silence that trusts. The world around you has not yet changed, but you have. The same voices that once carried power over your emotions now sound distant, powerless, almost unreal. You are no longer living beneath manipulation. You are walking above it. The exposure was not to break you, it was to reposition you in spiritual rank. According to the revelation recorded in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Indville, that single sentence hums through the air like a heartbeat. Be still. It is not weakness. It is divine warfare through surrender. Heaven fights strongest when you refuse to fight in the flesh. Every time you choose silence over self-defense, heaven moves. Every time you choose faith over frustration, the angelic host advances. You understand now that battles are not always won with words or weapons, they are won with restraint. The enemy expects you to retaliate. He feeds on chaos, thrives on reaction. But when you stand still, you starve his strategy. Archangel Michael smiles slightly. That is why peace terrifies darkness. He says, because peace is proof that heaven is near. You recall how quickly fear used to take hold, the racing heart, the doubt, the inner arguments that drained your strength. But now, even in the memory, you feel something stronger, composure. You are no longer moved by what was said about you. You are anchored in what was spoken to you by heaven. The archangel steps closer, the sound of his armor like thunder, softened by mercy. Command does not mean control. He explains. It means alignment. Speak only what heaven authorizes. Move only when heaven signals. That is how you win. You breathe deeply, realizing that this command requires humility, not pride. It is not about proving who you are to others. It is about living as heaven knows you to be. You don't have to convince anyone. Your fruit will speak for you. The spirit within you begins to rise, steady and certain. You realize how often you prayed for peace, and how peace was always waiting, only needing your permission to stay. The war was never around you. It was within you. Every fear, every urge to react, every moment of confusion, those were battlegrounds, and you have now claimed victory over them. The archangel lifts his sword, tracing a circle of light around you. This is your shield. He says, stay within it. Words will come. Accusations may rise, but they will dissolve before they touch you. You look and see it, a faint golden ring, pulsing with warmth, humming like the breath of God. The atmosphere around you shifts. You feel protected. But more than that, you feel authorized. Heaven has not only covered you, it has commissioned you. You are not merely surviving an attack. You are stepping into spiritual command. There is still danger in the air, but no fear. There are still enemies, but no intimidation. The awareness that once made you anxious now feels like empowerment. You are learning the discipline of stillness, the strength of surrender, the weapon of calm. You look again toward the unseen horizon and realize the Archangel's command was not just instruction, it was invitation. Heaven is calling you higher, out of reaction and into revelation. The war was never about who plotted against you, it was about who you would become in response. And now, standing within the circle of divine fire, you understand. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of mastery. You are no longer the one who wonders what's coming next. You are the one who waits, watches, and knows heaven has already gone before you. You've been still long enough to feel the rhythm of heaven moving again. The silence that once felt empty is now alive with direction. You stand at the edge of a new season. And though the war around you hasn't vanished, something within you has changed. You've learned peace as a weapon. Archangel Michael stands beside you like a sentinel of light. His presence feels less like a warning now, and more like a guide. You've passed the first test. He says, now it is time to build. Lo, build what? You wonder. The answer doesn't come in thunder. It comes as a whisper. Faith. Lo, faith is more than belief, it's motion. It's the act of saying yes before you see results. You feel heaven asking you to rise from defense into purpose, from surviving to shaping. The pain you endured was never meant to end in sorrow, it was meant to birth strength. You think back to every moment you almost gave up, the nights you prayed through tears, the mornings you woke up heavier than sleep could cure. And yet, here you are still standing, still breathing, still believing. That, alone, is proof of divine favor. The voice of heaven speaks again, this time soft and steady. Use what you've been through to lift others. Speak what you've learned. Share your light. Every testimony you share becomes a lantern for someone still lost in the dark. Every time you speak, hope. Heaven moves through your words like wind through open fields. And that is why this message exists, to build a bridge between your healing and someone else's breakthrough. As the Apostle testified in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap, if we do not give up. 1. This is your season to sow words, faith, kindness, and love, because when you sow light, you can't help but reap it in return. There's something sacred about the act of giving, not just material things. Beauty, energy, attention, support. When you give toward what feeds your spirit, you multiply that light into the world. Just as a candle loses nothing by lighting another, your generosity keeps the flame spreading. If this message has spoken to your soul, consider helping it reach further. When you like, it's as if you strike a match in the dark, one tiny spark joining thousands to push back the night. When you share, imagine placing that candle into the hands of another traveler. You don't know where their road leads, but your light might be the one that gets them home. When you subscribe, think of it as anchoring your ship to a lighthouse. The storms will still come, but the light will always know where to find you. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do it as a drop returning to the river that quenched its own thirst. No pressure, no condition, only flow. Let it be an act of gratitude, a whisper of partnership between your heart and heaven's mission. The Archangel says, "Giving is how heaven circulates. It's like a current of wind that carries seeds across valleys. Your small gesture today might plant a forest of hope tomorrow." There is no demand here, no guilt, only invitation. The same way rain never asks the earth to repay it. Your offering is not a transaction. You give because you've been given to. You share because you understand what it feels like to be found. Imagine a tree stretching wide, offering shade to travelers. That tree once started as a seed in someone's hands. Every word here is a seed like that. And your kindness, your engagement, your prayer, your support keeps the roots deep and the branches growing. So, if this message has poured peace into your soul, let your light ripple outward. Like, share, subscribe, or donate whichever motion your spirit chooses. Not obligation, only overflow. Archangel Michael's voice rises once more. Calm, yet certain, heaven measures not the size of the gift, but the sincerity of the heart. Heaven watches every heart that gives from joy, not fear. Every act of support becomes a ripple in eternity. You never know which ripple becomes the wave that saves another soul. You lift your eyes once more. The Archangel nods slightly, satisfied. The light grows warmer, not because the war has ended, but because you now understand your part in heaven's plan. You are not just receiving light, you are helping it travel. And as you stand in that glow, you hear the whisper once more, "Build the light, be the bridge." Oh, the atmosphere feels charged again. But this time, it's not with fear, it's with urgency. You sense heaven shifting something around you, as though invisible hands are turning a divine clock. The Archangel stands before you once more, his wings radiant, his eyes fixed on something beyond the moment. The countdown is real, he says, not in minutes of man, but in moments of mercy. You feel that phrase settle deep within your chest. Moments of mercy. Heaven measures time differently. What feels like delay on earth is often divine preparation. But the window does not stay open forever. There is a holy pause, a brief silence before the storm of transformation begins. The Archangel raises his hand, and suddenly you see it, a great hourglass, suspended in light. The sand glows as it falls. Each grain, a spark of destiny slipping through divine fingers. You have entered the 2-minute window of heaven's timing, he says. But now, half of it has passed. You don't panic. Instead, you feel awareness awaken, an inner pull that says, now is the time to move. You think about the times you almost acted, but waited, when your heart said go. Yet, fear whispered, not yet. Heaven says, no more hesitation. The hourglass is shifting, and obedience is the only key that fits this lock. The voice of God thunders in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your descendants may live. The choice stands before you now, not between good and evil, but between movement and delay. Heaven calls you to step forward, not because you're ready, but because you're chosen. Archangel Michael's sword gleams again. Its flame reflects your face, showing strength you didn't know you carried. The enemy fears your decision. He says, because your yes will end what his deception began. You remember how confusion often disguised itself as caution. How many blessings you postponed waiting for a perfect sign. But now you understand, the sign was never meant to come from the sky. It was always meant to come from within. The stirring you feel is the sign. The air hums with divine energy. Heaven is counting, not days. But décision. Every act of faith sends ripples into eternity. Every moment of courage reshapes your story and the stories of others. You ask, what happens if I wait too long? The Archangel answers gently, mercy waits, but not forever. Delay drains destiny. The words ignite something dormant in you. The ashes of old dreams begin to stir. Heaven isn't demanding perfection, it asks for participation. You don't have to know the whole path, only take the next step. That single motion opens gates you never knew existed. You look again at the hourglass. The sand is almost gone. But instead of anxiety, you feel holy focus. The Archangel says, this is your window. Speak. Act. Obey. Do not look back. Heaven's timing is delicate, yet powerful. When God moves, He moves suddenly. And when the moment comes, those who are ready rise with it. You stand in prophetic seconds where obedience outweighs history. Whatever held you fear, confusion, doubt has no authority now. You are being invited to align your heartbeat with divine rhythm. The Archangel's final words are steady and clear. Do not waste the mercy that time gives. And as he speaks, you realize heaven's countdown is not a threat, it's a gift. It's heaven saying, now, not later. Move while the wind still blows. And the last grains of light fall through the hourglass. A soft glow lingers. And you know something eternal has been written in your favor. Now, if you feel that confirmation burning in your spirit, if you sense that heaven is speaking through this message, mark this moment. Comment the number 1111 below. This number is more than sequence. It is alignment made visible. It represents heaven and earth, walking in step, your spirit synchronized with divine purpose. When you type 1111, you are declaring, I move with heaven's timing. I choose my moment now. Each digit stands like a pillar of light, symbolizing your readiness to walk through the open gate that God has set before you. The Archangel looks at you one last time before fading into light. His whisper lingers. The countdown is mercy. Use it well. The light fades, but peace remains. You feel heaven's rhythm still pulsing inside you, whispering that obedience is never wasted when born from trust. Somewhere unseen, the Archangel smiles. The clock stops ticking. Time has aligned with destiny, and your spirit finally moves in perfect harmony with heaven. The light from the hourglass hasn't disappeared. It has simply transformed. What once burned in front of you now burns within you. The fire that surrounded the Archangel's blade has become the steady glow in your own chest. You are not the same as before. You have crossed from awareness into authority. The Archangel stands a short distance away, silent for a moment, as though giving you time to recognize what has changed. The mark of protection, he says finally, is not something placed upon the skin, it is written upon the soul. You feel it even before he says the words, a quiet heat on your spirit, like invisible armor forming around your heart. It doesn't shimmer or sparkle. It feels ancient, sacred, familiar, like something you always had, but only now remembered. You reach out instinctively, touching your chest, and the warmth responds. The light inside you answers to heaven's light. The mark is not decoration, it is covenant. It means that no matter what rises against you, you will not face it alone. The eternal word, recorded in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11, reveals, "For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." As those words echo through your mind, the archangel's wings unfold again, surrounding you in a slow, deliberate motion. Each feather glows with flame, yet feels like silk when the light brushes your face. "This is your seal," he says, "the sign that heaven has claimed you as its own. Wherever you walk, angels will go before you." Now, a sound rises, a low hum that seems to come from the ground itself. The air vibrates with it, and you realize the hum isn't noise at all. It's resonance. The mark within you is connecting with the realm above. Heaven has recognized your spirit, and the bond has been sealed. For a moment, images flash before your mind. All the times danger brushed close, yet somehow missed. All the moments you were delayed just long enough to avoid disaster. None of it was random. The protection that now feels new was there all along, guiding, redirecting, and preserving your path. You see that what you once called luck was mercy wearing disguise. The archangel speaks again. Protection is not the absence of battle, it is the assurance of survival. You will still face storms, but you will not drown. You will walk through fire, but you will not burn. His words remind you of every challenge that almost broke you, the betrayal that stung like venom, the disappointment that hollowed your heart, the loneliness that echoed louder than prayer. Yet here you are, still standing, still glowing. The mark doesn't mean life will be easy. It means you will never be unguarded again. You close your eyes, letting the awareness sink in. Around you, the air feels thicker, more alive. It carries presence, something holy, gentle, and fierce all at once. You understand now that protection is not always visible. Sometimes it's the silence that interrupts disaster, the small hesitation that saves your life, the peace that holds your hand when fear should have taken over. The archangel lowers his sword, planting it gently in the ground beside you. The flames around it fade into light, and the soil beneath it turns to glass, pure and glowing. "This sword will not leave your side," he says. "It is a symbol of your covering. You may not see it, but it will answer to your faith." No. Then he steps closer, his eyes soft, yet commanding. When you walk among those who wish you harm, remember this: protection is not always a wall, it is a mirror. Whatever they send against you will reflect and return to them, purified by heaven's justice. Oh, those words linger in the air, heavy with promise. You realize that the mark of protection is not merely defense, it's transformation. It turns every attack into evidence, every wound into wisdom, every trial into testimony. The shield is not just around you, it grows with you. The light surrounding the archangel begins to fade, but his voice remains. From this moment, no plan formed against you will succeed without divine permission. You are covered in both fire and grace. You breathe deeply, feeling the mark pulse one final time. Then settle into peace, The hum in the air fades into silence. Yet the warmth inside you remains steady, unbroken, alive. You are walking proof that heaven does not only watch, it intervenes. You look upward. The sky seems clearer, closer. You understand that the same God who commands angels has now marked your path with light. You are guarded not because you asked, but because you are chosen. And chosen ones do not walk naked into battle, they walk clothed in flame. You sense the weight of heaven's promise still lingering in the air. The mark of protection burns quietly within you, not as pain, but as a pulse. It is alive, breathing, responding to your every thought. You can feel its rhythm, aligning with your heartbeat. Every step you take now echoes differently, as if heaven itself moves in sync with your stride. The Archangel's light dims to a steady glow. He no longer stands as a warrior before you, but as a teacher beside you. Now you must see what your protection is shielding you from. He says, you must witness the network that moves against your name. A curtain of mist rises before you, thin and shimmering. Through it, shapes begin to form faces, familiar and unfamiliar. Their lips move, but no sound escapes at first. Then, slowly, the whispers come faint, fragmented, venomous, words twisted with envy, promises made with hidden edges. You recognize them, not as strangers, but as those who once smiled in your presence. It hurts. Even now, betrayal always cuts deeper when it comes wrapped in friendship. You watch as the Archangel lifts his hand, and the scene expands. Behind every whisper, another figure moves a shadow, ancient and shapeless. Weaving threads between each speaker, the web connects them, binding their words into one purpose: to silence your growth. The Spirit of the Lord spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 54, verse 17. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. Then, the verse unfolds before your eyes, not as text, but as light slicing through the web. Every thread begins to burn. Every shadow recoils. The whispers turn to silence. The figures vanish. You realize then that this was never merely about people. It was about influence, about spirits that hide behind faces, manipulating hearts. Using human weakness as a vessel, the Archangel turns toward you, his expression both fierce and calm. This is how darkness works. He says, it hides behind the familiar, camouflaging poison with kindness. But when you walk in divine truth, deception loses its disguise. You nod slowly. There is no anger in you now, only understanding. The mark of protection was not meant to isolate you from pain. It was meant to reveal truth without destroying compassion. You were never called to hate those who plotted against you. You were called to see through them, to recognize the spirit without condemning the person. That is wisdom. That is mastery. You look again into the mist. The web is gone, but a few threads still float in the air, faint, fragile, and fading. They represent words that were spoken but never retracted, lies that once carried weight, yet even these begin to crumble. The truth is consuming them from the inside out. Archangel Michael speaks softly. Every false word will tire itself out. Darkness has no endurance. It burns fast and dies quietly. Well, the simplicity of that truth settles deep within you. There is no need for revenge. No demand for confrontation. The greatest victory is peace that remains unbroken in the face of exposure. You begin to see that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's immunity. It keeps your light pure, untouched by bitterness. The Archangel gestures once more, and the mist dissolves completely. The air clears. The world feels open again. The network has been seen, he says, and once seen, it cannot operate unseen. I knew. You breathe easier. There's a clarity you've never felt before. The confusion that once surrounded certain faces now feels transparent. You can sense intentions without judgment, energy without words. Heaven has sharpened your discernment. Michael's gaze softens. Do not fear what was revealed, he says. Fear only blindness. The exposure was mercy, not punishment. You cannot heal from what you refuse to see. Oh, you let the words sink in. The realization that even betrayal served a purpose begins to settle your heart. Every plot, every whisper, every false alliance, they were all instruments of revelation. Without them, you would have continued walking among masks, unaware of the true faces beneath. The Archangel's light flickers one last time before settling into stillness. Walk wisely, he says. You have seen what most never do. Now that you know how darkness weaves, you will never be caught in its web again. Then, you look around, and the world feels wider, quieter, cleaner. The unseen network has been exposed and dissolved. Where Dissay once danced, only peace remains. You realize that protection is not just defense, it's discernment. The light in you will forever reveal the difference between who is near you and who is truly for you. The silence that follows exposure is a strange kind of peace. It isn't quiet because everything is perfect. It's quiet because truth has spoken, and nothing more needs to be said. The air feels lighter now, as though the tension has been drained from it. You realize that you are finally free from the noise of misunderstanding. Archangel Michael remains near, but his voice is gentler than before. You have seen what plotted against you, he says, and now heaven will handle the rest. You no longer need to justify yourself, explain your worth, or chase vindication. The same God who saw your tears will now show your victory in plain sight. You think back to the accusations that once wounded you, the lies that made you question your purpose, the people who spoke your name in ways that did not match your heart. Each word carried weight then, but now, under heaven's gaze, they feel like smoke in sunlight, visible for a moment, then gone forever. The Spirit of Truth shines from the Book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 6. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, your justice like the noonday sun. Those words feel alive, pulsing through your mind like music. Heaven does not forget what was spoken in secret. God's justice does not arrive with noise, it arrives with light. It doesn't humiliate your enemies, it humbles them. It lets truth reveal itself so completely that silence becomes your vindication. Archangel Michael walks slowly, the sound of his steps blending with the wind. You will not need to speak, he says. Heaven's response will speak louder. You understand that now. Vindication isn't a performance, it's a revelation. When God lifts you, he does not ask permission from those who doubted you. You feel a weight leaving your chest, the kind of heaviness that comes from trying to prove yourself to people who were never meant to understand you. There is freedom in letting heaven defend your reputation. There is power in silence when your conscience is clean. The Archangel continues. Do not rehearse their betrayal, release it. Do not revisit their words, rest in mine. Let your peace be your testimony. You look toward the horizon and feel the morning sun touch your face. It feels symbolic, light returning where shadow once lived. You realize that the greatest response to betrayal is not anger, but advancement. Every step forward you take is a declaration. I am still standing. And you think about how vindication truly works. It doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it into proof. The very wounds that once bled now shine like scars of survival. They are no longer reminders of what hurt you. They are reminders of what heaven healed. The Archangel smiles faintly. Let those who whispered now watch. The same mouths that doubted you will one day speak your name with respect. Do not gloat, simply grow. His words strike deep, not as pride, but as prophecy. You are stepping into the kind of peace that makes noise unnecessary. Your silence will say what words never could. Your endurance will preach louder than explanation. Your glow will outshine every rumor. This is how heaven works. It exalts quietly but visibly, so that even those who plotted must acknowledge the hand of God upon you. You close your eyes and breathe. The old you would have argued, defended, shouted. But this version of you, this one knows better. This one knows that heaven's justice is not delayed, it's deliberate. Archangel Michael lifts his gaze toward the unseen and says one final thing. Do not waste your breath proving what heaven has already confirmed. The wind moves softly across your face, and you feel it, vindication, not as vengeance, but as validation. You are at peace, and that peace is proof enough. Now, declare this truth and seal it. Comment, I am seen, below. When you write those words, you are not just affirming recognition, you are proclaiming that heaven's eyes have never left you. It means that no matter who overlooked you, no matter who misunderstood you, God has already prepared a stage where your integrity will shine without effort. Your comment is your agreement that you no longer chase validation. You rest in visibility given by heaven itself. And as you whisper those words, something within you settles completely. You realize you were never hidden. You were being reserved. The light around you ripples softly, as if heaven itself nods in agreement. I am seen becomes more than words. It becomes vibration, echoing through every unseen realm. The Archangel's wings fold, signaling completion. Vindication has finished its work. You no longer need defense. You have divine recognition. And in that stillness, peace deepens. You feel grounded, certain, and whole, finally understanding that when heaven sees you, no human blindness can erase your light. The air feels quieter than it has in a long time. Vindication has done its work. The storm has passed. The world around you hasn't changed much. Yet everything within you feels reborn. You've tasted the calm that only comes after surviving a storm. You were never meant to fight alone. Heaven has spoken on your behalf. And now there is only peace. Archangel Michael watches you. His wings dim to a soft, silver glow. The fire of battle has cooled into light, the kind that warms instead of burns. Now that you've seen truth and stood still, he says, it is time to build again, not walls of defense, but bridges of restoration. Now you nod. understanding without needing words. You've spent so long protecting your peace. Now heaven invites you to expand it, to become the peace you once prayed for. The Archangel gestures toward the distance, where the world stretches vast and waiting. Your light was not meant to stay hidden inside the victory. He says, it was meant to travel. And you realize then, peace is not the end of the story, it's the soil from which purpose grows. You are no longer a survivor, you are a seed ready to root. But even seeds need care, light, and a community of soil around them to thrive. The Spirit of Truth speaks in the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 25. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. The verse hums like wind through leaves. You feel heaven reminding you that light grows by being shared. Every time you pass on encouragement, you multiply what heaven planted in you. The healing you've received becomes healing for someone else. That is why messages like this exist not as sermons shouted into the void, but as conversations between light and listener. They are the gentle rain over dry ground, reviving faith one heart at a time. And you, by being here, are part of that rain. When you like this message, you are not pressing a button, you are pressing agreement. It's as if you lift a small lantern in a night field, adding your flame to a constellation of faith across the earth. When you share, you are not promoting, you are planting. You take a seed of light and drop it into someone else's storm, trusting that it will bloom in the dark where they least expect it. When you subscribe, it's not routine, it's covenant. It's you anchoring your spirit to a lighthouse that knows how to find you, even when the waves rise again. And if your heart ever feels stirred to donate, let it flow as naturally as the wind moves through trees. Giving is not loss, it's circulation. It's breath leaving your lungs, only to return as fresh air from heaven's garden. No demand, no condition, only invitation. You are never asked to give out of guilt, only gratitude. When your spirit overflows, generosity becomes a form of worship, a quiet echo of thank you whispered back to heaven. The Archangel steps closer, his tone gentle but full of weight. When you sow into light, you invest in eternity. When you support what feeds your soul, you tell heaven you want the river to keep flowing. His words settle deep because they are true. Every small act of support, every bit of kindness shared, becomes a bridge that carries more light into weary hearts. You see now that spreading light isn't obligation, it's partnership. Just as rivers don't flow for themselves, light doesn't exist to be contained. The more it moves, the brighter it becomes. The more it's shared, the stronger it shines. So, if this message has found you in the right moment, if something inside you whispered, "This was meant for me," then let it move through you. Like it so others can find their way by its glow. Share it like you're passing a torch to a traveler in the night. Subscribe so heaven can keep finding you when it has more to say. And if you feel led, donate not because you must, but because your heart wants to join the current of kindness that keeps this light alive. Archangel Michael lifts his gaze, voice low but sure. Light that flows never fades. He says, "Be the flow." And you smile because you understand. Giving, sharing, staying connected, none of it is pressure. It's participation. It's how light continues to move, how heaven continues to reach, How souls find their way home again. The archangel's glow softens until only the warmth remains. Around you, the air feels alive, like gratitude itself, breathing. And in that moment, you realize every act of kindness is a spark, every bit of support a ripple, every listener part of a divine story still unfolding. The air is calm again. But the calm feels different, now deeper, anchored, sacred. What once felt like stillness now feels like strength. You've learned to hear silence not as emptiness, but as confirmation that heaven is still near. You are no longer walking in fear or waiting for attack. You are walking in the presence of divine authority. Archangel Michael's sword gleams faintly beside you. Its flame no longer fierce, but steady like a candle that has nothing left to prove. He turns toward you and says, "The sword and the flame have always walked together. One defends, and the other transforms. Now, it is time you hold both." So, you look down, and in your hand, light begins to gather. It starts small, like the glint of sunrise reflecting off glass, then grows until it becomes a weapon made of pure brilliance. It hums, not with violence, but with purpose. The flame is not meant to destroy, it's meant to cleanse. According to the sacred writings in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 29, "For our God is a consuming fire." The words come alive around you. You feel the truth of it burning through your spirit. God's fire isn't against you, it is for you. It purifies the residue of everything that tried to cling to your destiny. It burns away fear, self-doubt, and shame until only strength remains. The archangel's voice deepens. You are not just protected, you are purified. This flame is your inheritance. It is the presence of God that lives within you, not to harm, but to refine. As he speaks, you feel waves of warmth passing through your soul. Every hidden wound, every forgotten ache begins to loosen its grip. You see fragments of your past moments of regret, anger, and exhaustion dissolving like ash scattered in wind. What's left behind is not emptiness, but clarity. You understand now, every trial you endured was not meant to burn you out, it was meant to burn you bright. Every heartbreak was a furnace forging resilience. Every loss was fire, refining gold. The flame of heaven has not destroyed you, it has defined you. Archangel Michael raises his sword, and your own flame answers, resonating in harmony. This is the moment you become weapon and witness. He says, "The fire in you will terrify darkness, not because it destroys, but because it exposes." End quote. You realize that light doesn't need to fight darkness, it simply needs to exist. Darkness flees not because it's defeated, but because it can't coexist with truth. The weapon in your hand is not for war, it is for revelation. The archangel walks a slow circle around you, each step tracing patterns of light across the ground. The air hums with ancient language, words you don't understand but somehow recognize. The markings glow briefly, then fade, leaving a soft trail of radiance at your feet. "These are your boundaries," he explains. "Everywhere you step from now on, this flame will follow. It will burn what tries to bind you." You nod, though awe fills every corner of your being. The sword no longer feels heavy, it feels alive, as though it breathes in sync with your faith. You lift it slightly, and sparks ripple through the atmosphere. They do not scorch, they sanctify. The flame is gentle, yet nothing can resist it. Do you feel it? Michael asks. You do. It's the realization that you are not only a receiver of protection, you are now a bearer of power. The same fire that guards heaven's gates now rests inside your spirit. The Archangel's expression softens. Use it wisely. Let your fire be light, not destruction. Let it cleanse, not consume. Let it warm those who draw near in truth, but warn those who approach in deceit. No, you breathe deeply, the air vibrating with invisible energy. It no longer feels like borrowed strength. It feels like belonging. You finally understand that divine fire is not punishment. It is presence. It is the living proof that heaven trusts you with its flame. Around you, the air flickers with golden embers. The Archangel steps back, folding his wings with quiet reverence. The sword and the flame are one. He says, carry them with courage, and nothing will touch you uninvited again. You look down at your hands. The fire has calmed, becoming a faint glow that pulses with your heartbeat. It is no longer something you hold, it is something you are. And in that moment, you realize what was once your battlefield has now become your altar. The flame within you flickers softly now, not as a warning, but as a whisper. It hums with calm energy, steady and unshakable. The sword of light rests in your spirit. No longer something you lift, it moves with you, breathes with you. Heaven has woven protection and purpose together inside your being. You are no longer waiting for deliverance. You are walking as one who carries it. Archangel Michael stands before you, eyes burning with calm fire. The hourglass has turned again. He says, but this time, it measures obedience, not delay. The time of preparation has passed. Now comes the hour of decision. So, the air thickens with something holy, something you cannot name, but can feel. It's as if every angel in heaven has stopped to listen. You sense movement, a divine synchronization beginning to unfold. What was scattered is gathering. What was broken is mending. What was uncertain is finding order. You look up. The sky above you seems alive, swirling with faint threads of gold. Every strand connects like constellations, shifting into alignment. You hear it inside your heart. This is your moment of agreement with heaven. The voice of eternity echoes through the ancient words found in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And the verse resounds like thunder muffled by grace. It's not a promise of comfort, it's a promise of coordination. Heaven wastes nothing. Every heartbreak, every delay, every betrayal, it's all being woven together into one beautiful, unstoppable outcome. The threads of your story are not tangled, they are being braided into strength. The Archangel gestures toward the horizon. You see flashes of your past places you stumbled, moments you doubted, seasons you felt forgotten. Yet in this vision, light runs through each one like veins of gold through stone. You realize that what once looked like failure was actually formation. Every unanswered prayer was an invitation to trust deeper. Every closed door was a rerouting, not rejection. The Archangel's voice is gentle, but carries authority. Now heaven is aligning what belongs to you. But alignment requires acknowledgement. You must agree with what God is doing, not what fear suggests. You nod, though tears blur your vision. It's a holy ache, the kind that comes not from pain, but from realization. You understand now that faith is not waiting for rescue, it's walking in recognition. You were never late. Michael continues. You were being calibrated. Every delay was timing. Every loss was redirection. Every tear was seed. The air trembles as his words settle into your heart. You can almost feel heaven's machinery moving around you, gears of grace turning. Invisible hands realigning pieces of your destiny. The sound is faint, but constant, like the deep hum of purpose, awakening. You ask softly, "How do I stay aligned?" The Archangel answers, "By choosing agreement over anxiety, by declaring what heaven has said, even when earth has not yet caught up." Oh, you take a slow breath. The realization feels immense. You are not waiting for your life to begin. It already has. You've simply been learning how to walk in rhythm with divine timing. Every step of faith keeps the alignment steady. Every act of trust sharpens your connection. Michael's wings spread wide, filling the horizon with light. Heaven records every moment you align. He says, and with each alignment, power multiplies. The more you trust, the faster heaven moves. Now, the atmosphere around you vibrates with this truth. You sense that now is not the time for fear, but for affirmation, for agreement with heaven's movement. If your spirit resonates with this moment, if you can feel the pull of divine alignment stirring inside you, then mark this instant in faith. Comment the number 5,555 below. This number symbolizes divine alignment, in transition, the meeting of grace and movement. It means heaven's structure is shifting to meet your obedience. When you type 5,555, you are not invoking superstition. You are acknowledging synchronization. It's a spiritual signature saying, I align with heaven's rhythm. I trust the timing. I choose my path of purpose. Then, each digit stands as a step: faith, trust, obedience, and surrender, all walking together toward destiny. It's your way of saying, I am not afraid of change. I am part of it. Then, the Archangel lowers his gaze, smiling faintly. When you move in alignment, nothing can oppose you. Not man, not darkness, not delay. For those who walk with heaven, even time itself must cooperate. And you close your eyes, feeling that truth anchor deep within. The pulse of light in your chest beats steady, echoing the rhythm of heaven's clock. The old fears fade, only peace remains. And somewhere in the unseen, the sound of gears slows to stillness. Alignment has been completed. Heaven and earth have found agreement inside your heart. The world around you feels both familiar and new. The rhythm of heaven still hums through your spirit, but now it carries a Keter tone, steady, unhurried, certain. You are no longer chasing peace, you have become it. Every step you take feels guided, measured by unseen wisdom. You sense that heaven has shifted from defense to destiny. Archangel Michael stands nearby, his presence softer now, more like a companion than a commander. The fire that once raged in his eyes is now the calm glow of an eternal flame. The turning of the plot begins. He says, what was meant to bury you will now build you. End of You remember his earlier warnings, the betrayals, the whispers, the unseen warfare. Yet even as you recall those wounds, you no longer feel their sting. It's as if every scar has become a doorway for light. The very pain that once confined you is now proof that you were never abandoned. Heaven was shaping you through every storm. The ancient scroll of Genesis declares, chapter 50, verse 20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Oh, the verse unfolds like a sunrise across your mind. It's not just a memory of Joseph's story, it's a mirror of your own. Every betrayal had a divine counterpart. Every false accusation became an opportunity for elevation. The pit was not punishment, it was preparation. The betrayal was not the end, it was the bridge to purpose. The archangel steps closer, his wings folding inward like curtains of light. "You see now, don't you?" he asks quietly. Heaven never lost control. What felt like chaos was choreography. You nod. Tears blurring your vision, not tears of sorrow, but recognition. You see how each painful moment was perfectly timed to move you closer to destiny. You see how rejection pushed you toward redirection, how loss became a lesson, how heartbreak built your humility. The turning of the plot was not a sudden twist, it was a slow unveiling of wisdom. Michael's gaze pierces gently into you. Heaven never wastes a wound, he says. Every tear was an offering, every delay a doorway, every disappointment a divine disguise. End quote. You take those words into yourself and feel them settle deep. Suddenly, faces and memories return, not as burdens, but as blessings. You realize that even those who wronged you played their part in fulfilling what was written. Without their betrayal, you would not have known discernment. Without their absence, you would not have known strength. The archangel begins to move again, his steps leaving faint traces of gold in the air. "The plot is turning," he says, "because you are ready to rise without resentment." No, it strikes you deeply. Rising isn't only about victory, it's about forgiveness. You cannot ascend while still chained to anger. To release resentment is to reclaim altitude. It's the act of saying, "I no longer need justice to move forward. Grace is enough." You lift your eyes, and the horizon seems brighter than before. The places that once reminded you of pain now shimmer with purpose. The past no longer looks like something to escape, it looks like something God redeemed. The archangel smiles faintly. The turning is not just around you, it's within you. He says, "The very spirit that once trembled under trial now walks with authority. You no longer fear darkness, darkness fears your peace." Now, you breathe, and the air feels lighter, warmer. Everything inside you seems to align with heaven's calm. The plot that once terrified you now fascinates you. You see patterns where you once saw problems, purpose where you once saw pain. The archangel's wings unfold once more, stretching wide across the unseen sky. "Do you feel it?" he asks. The story has shifted. The very weapons formed against you have turned into tools for your building. And indeed, you do feel it. Every memory, every wound, every season of waiting, they all now carry light. The broken pieces have not been thrown away, they've been rearranged into beauty. You look around at your life, seeing not ruins, but foundations. You finally understand that restoration is not about returning to what was, it's about rising into what's next. The Archangel lowers his sword and nods. Heaven has reversed the plot. He says, "The enemy wrote an ending, God wrote a resurrection." You close your eyes, letting the truth wrap around you like warm wind. The story that once hurt to remember now brings peace to recall. You are no longer a victim of what happened. You are a vessel of what was written. The plot has turned, and you have turned with it. The Archangel's words echo through the stillness. The plot has turned. They linger like music, soft yet undeniable, resonating with something deep inside you. You know it's true, you can feel it. Everything that once felt like loss now feels like direction. What once wounded you now fuels you. The very ground that trembled beneath your pain has become the foundation of your peace. You stand quietly, breathing in air that feels cleaner somehow, lighter. It's as though the entire world has been washed in revelation. The fire that once burned to purify you now glows gently, steady and constant. Heaven's light no longer feels distant. It feels intertwined with your heartbeat. Archangel Michael steps closer. His armor gleams not with battle's reflection, but with serenity's calm. Heaven has stationed guards around you. He says, "Not because you are fragile, but because you are precious. Every chosen one carries weight, and weight requires protection." The air begins to shift. You sense movement around you, like invisible wings brushing through space. The light ripples, and suddenly you see them, a host of radiant beings, standing in silent formation. Their presence isn't loud or overwhelming. It feels ancient, peaceful, purposeful. These are the Watchers. Michael explains, they do not interfere with your freedom, but they stand where you cannot see. They shield where you cannot reach. When you rest, they remain awake. Footnote. You can feel their strength like gravity, constant, grounding, unbroken. The angels' faces shine with gentleness, but their eyes hold the fierce authority of heaven's order. They are not guards made of stone. They are living light, assigned by divine intention. The prophet once wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 7, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." End quote. The words become visible truth before your eyes. Around you, circles of light begin to form, rings upon rings, expanding outward until they disappear into the horizon. Each ring pulses like a heartbeat, in rhythm with your own. The Archangel continues, "Every time you chose peace over panic, faith over fear, forgiveness over revenge, you called them closer. Heaven responds not to fear, but to faith." And it dawns on you that protection has always been interactive. Heaven does not guard in silence. It guards through participation. Every act of obedience strengthens the shield. Every prayer, every sigh of surrender, every moment you refuse to give up, it all summoned this presence around you. You realize something profound. You were never unguarded, even in your loneliest hour. The reason darkness never fully consumed you wasn't luck, it was guardianship. The unseen army stood at every crossroad, every near fall, every tear. Michael looks upon you, his gaze filled with reverence, not authority. "Do not fear your calling," he says. "Heaven never sends without protection. You walk among many, but you are surrounded by more. The truth of that statement fills your lungs like breath for the first time. You can almost feel invisible wings shifting when you inhale, like the air itself moves to accommodate heaven's protection. The thought humbles you deeply. He steps back and gestures toward the unseen horizon. This is your new awareness. He says, walk with it. Know that when shadows stir, they do so outside the circle. You dwell in light. You are covered not by accident, but by assignment. End quote. For a moment, the host of angels bows their heads in unison. The gesture isn't toward Michael, it's toward you, the one chosen to carry light. The humility of it almost breaks you. You realize that you are part of something vast, something eternal. You are both guarded and guiding, watched and watching. The Archangel's final words for now are tender yet absolute. Protection is not just presence, it's partnership. Heaven defends those who walk in purpose. You close your eyes and listen. The flutter of wings fades into stillness. The air grows quiet again. But you no longer feel alone in the silence. You feel accompanied by peace itself. Watched over by grace, invisible yet undeniable. And as the last echo of the angelic host disappears into light, one truth settles deeply in your heart. The war around you may continue, but it will never touch what heaven surrounds. The wind shifts gently, brushing your skin like a promise kept. You can feel the presence of heaven, even in the silence, an invisible rhythm reminding you that you are never unguarded, never unseen. Somewhere beyond the visible sky, wings move again, soft, certain, eternal. Their motion hums like a heartbeat of divine assurance, whispering, you are protected still. The silence after revelation feels sacred, like standing inside the pause between heartbeats. The air carries a holy rhythm, steady and certain, echoing what you've become, a warrior of peace, a vessel of light. You have walked through battlefields unseen and emerged carrying heaven's calm. The Archangel's presence remains, but his armor no longer glows with fire. Now it reflects still, water gentle, reflective, undisturbed. He watches you quietly. You have walked far, he says, but the journey is not finished. You were never meant to walk only as one who receives. You are meant to walk as one who releases. You understand instantly. The light was never meant to be stored, it was meant to be shared. The protection you carry is not selfish, it's meant to shelter others. The revelation you've received is not a secret, it's a spark waiting to ignite more souls awake. The ancient voice of wisdom speaks through the writings of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16. Let your light so shine before others, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Those words settle in you like soft rain, drenching the soil of your heart. You are not called to perfection, only to illumination. Heaven does not expect you to have all the answers. It simply asks you not to hide what you've learned. The Archangel gestures toward the horizon where dusk meets dawn. See how light spreads. He says, it touches without asking. It shines without pride. Be that light. You watch the sky shift color. Deep blue melting into gold. You realize that everything heaven has given you peace, revelation. Healing was never meant to stop with you. You are part of an endless flow. The more you give, the brighter it becomes. When you like this message, Think of it as striking a spark on the flint of faith. One spark may seem small, but in the right heart, it becomes a fire that warms another soul. When you share, imagine it as releasing a dove into the air. You don't know whose window it will find, whose weary heart it will land upon, but the message will travel where it is most needed. When you subscribe, see it as planting a tree beside the river of truth. Each word you receive afterward becomes shade for your future, fruit for your faith, and rest for someone who follows the same path. And if your spirit feels stirred to donate, let it not feel like parting, its participation. It is the act of adding another flame to the lantern that lights countless unseen travelers. The offering leaves your hands, but not your story. It circles back as blessing, multiplied by the love it was given in. The Archangel smiles faintly. Giving, he says, is how heaven breathes through humanity. When you release what you value, you make room for what cannot be measured. Unfray, you close your eyes and let those words sink in. The imagery of rivers, light, doves, and fire all weave together in your heart like a living tapestry. You realize that support, kindness, and generosity are not transactions. They are extensions of heaven's rhythm through human hands. No demand, no pressure, only flow. Light never begs to be shared. It simply invites those who see its beauty to join in its movement. The Archangel's gaze softens even more. Every time you lift your light, he says, darkness loses ground. Every act of compassion is a prayer without words. You look toward the horizon, imagining thousands of lights flickering across the world, each one a soul awakened, each one touched by another's courage to share. You are one of them, and yet part of something infinitely larger. So if this message has filled your spirit, like it to affirm the spark. Share it as a silent act of kindness. Subscribe to stay near the stream of light. And if your heart leads, donate as a whisper of gratitude that keeps the flame alive for others. And if something in these words stirred your soul, leave a comment below. Let it be your echo in the river of faith. Each word you write becomes a ripple that travels farther than you can imagine, reminding someone else that they are not alone. There is no request, only resonance. The flame that found you deserves to find others. The Archangel looks upward, as if listening to something beyond time. You have become what you were meant to be, he says softly, a light that needs no permission to shine. And in that moment, you understand. Giving, sharing, connecting, these are not duties. They are dances, movements of love that echo through eternity, proving that light was never meant to stand still. The dawn rises slowly, painting the horizon in gold and violet hues. The silence around you feels sacred again, not empty, but alive. Every sound, every breath, every flicker of light carries meaning. You sense that heaven is not just above you anymore, it is within you. The line between divine and human feels blurred, as if eternity itself has stepped closer. Archangel Michael stands at the edge of the light, watching as the first rays of morning stretch across the unseen plain. His presence feels different now, less commanding, more comforting. He speaks quietly. The dawn is not a beginning, it is a continuation. Light never starts, it simply returns. Oh no, you understand. This isn't the start of something new. It is the unfolding of what has always been written. Everything you've endured, every revelation, Every lesson it all leads here, to this stillness filled with purpose. You have been shaped for this moment, not by chance, but by design. The Archangel turns toward you, and for the first time, he smiles fully. You are learning the rhythm of heaven. He says, it is not hurry, it is harmony. When you move with it, time bends in your favor. The phrase lingers. Time bends in your favor. You think about all the moments that once felt wasted, the delays, the detours, the disappointments, and now you see them differently. None of it was lost. Heaven redeems even the hours you thought had slipped away. What you considered pauses were actually preparations. What you called waiting was weaving. The scripture whispers again through memory. From the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. The words settle softly, like dew on untouched grass. You realize that beauty has never been about perfection. It's about timing. God's timing doesn't rush. It ripens. And now, you are standing in a season that has finally reached its fullness. The Archangel's wings shift gently, the faint rustle like wind stirring through fields. The weight you carried, he says, was never punishment. It was preparation for endurance. You were being trained to carry light without breaking. End 40. You think of how heavy faith once felt, how hard it was to believe when nothing seemed to move. Yet now, that same faith feels effortless, like breathing. You no longer carry belief as a burden. You wear it as your nature. Michael continues, his tone soft but absolute. There are others who will walk through what you've survived. They will need your testimony, not your perfection. Do not hide your story. Light does not apologize for where it has been. It shines because it knows the darkness. You close your eyes and remember your journey, the storms that almost swallowed you, the voices that doubted you, the nights you thought you'd never see morning again. Yet here you stand, whole. The thought stirs a quiet gratitude that feels older than words. You realize that survival wasn't the end goal, transformation was. The Archangel raises his gaze toward the horizon, where the light grows stronger, flooding every shadow. You are not finished, he says. You are unfolding. The dawn is not final, it is faithful. And something about those words moves you deeply. You realize that even this piece you stand in is not the end of the story, it's a new layer of it. Every sunrise will now carry a reminder. You are still part of a living promise. You turn your face toward the light, feeling warmth spread through your chest. The fire within you hums quietly, in rhythm with the pulse of the world. Everything feels aligned, the seen and unseen, the past and the promise, the human and the holy. The Archangel steps closer, his expression both fierce and gentle. There will still be noise, he says, but it cannot reach the core anymore. You are no longer reacting, you are radiating. Remember that difference. It is what separates the chosen from the shaken. The words settle deep, and you know he is right. Peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the mastery of it. You have learned to stand in storms without losing your center. You have learned to love without losing your strength. The horizon glows brighter now, and Michael's form begins to blur into the morning light. His voice softens as he fades. This is not goodbye. It is graduation. You have learned heaven's rhythm. Now, live it. And as he disappears completely, the light around you expands soft, endless, golden. You feel its warmth settle not just on your skin, but in your soul. You are not waiting for heaven anymore. You are carrying it. The dawn is not arrival, it is remembrance. The promise was never far. It lived in you all along. The light of morning stretches farther now, filling every shadow, spilling over every horizon. It is quiet, but not the quiet of emptiness. It is the silence of completion. The air carries a golden hum, a vibration that feels alive, as if all creation is exhaling in rhythm with you. You realize that what once felt like a series of battles was, in truth, a long conversation between heaven and your soul. Every trial was heaven's whisper. Every breakthrough was your answer. The Archangel's presence lingers still, though his form has become one with the light. You can no longer see him clearly, but you feel him like warmth on your skin, like gravity that does not pull but holds. His voice comes softer than ever, threaded through the wind. The war was never to destroy you, he says. It was to teach you who you are. End quote. Those words fall over you like rain. You understand them completely. The storms, the attacks, the betrayals, all of them were classrooms. Every pain was a prophecy in disguise. What the enemy meant as chains became chisels, shaping you into strength. Every sleepless night, every tear, every unanswered question, they all built a foundation that could now hold peace without crumbling. Heaven does not build warriors in comfort. It builds them in conflict, in waiting, in silence. And you have become one, not the kind who draws swords at every sound, but the kind whose calm disarms darkness without a word. The old words from the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, rise within your heart like a memory returning home. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. The meaning is clear. The door is not coming, it is here. It was always here. All that time you thought heaven was silent. It was busy building this door. The pressure you felt was simply the weight of preparation. And now, the hinges move. Silent, but unstoppable. You can almost hear it, the sound of divine opportunity opening before you. You look toward the unseen and realize that what stands beyond that door isn't a reward, it's responsibility. It's the space where everything you've learned becomes life for others. You will walk through it, not as the wounded, but as the witness. You will carry peace into places where panic used to reign. You will speak truth into spaces where deceit once thrived. The Archangel's voice returns, more distant now, but still distinct. This is where the story expands. You are not walking away from battle. You are walking into purpose. The same light that protected you will now flow through you. The realization fills you with something stronger than joy. It's serenity, grounded and unwavering. The past no longer pulls at you. The future no longer frightens you. You have become the balance between them. You are the living proof that heaven does not just rescue, it restores, rebuilds, and releases. Around you, the air stirs again. The wind feels alive, as if carrying countless unseen wings. You sense movement not toward you, but around you, like the circling of promise. Heaven's army doesn't depart, it expands. Its protection now moves with you, not for you. You are no longer the center of the storm, you are the calm at its core. The Archangel's final words drift like the faint echo of dawn. Remember, heaven's mark is not seen. It's sensed. When you walk, the atmosphere will recognize you. The same way darkness once knew your weakness, now it will know your authority. Oh, you bow your head, not in fear, but in gratitude. The light is nearly blinding now, but it doesn't hurt your eyes anymore. It feels like home. It feels like everything you were searching for has finally found you. The story that began in trembling now ends in trust. The one who once feared the plot has now become part of the prophecy. The chosen one has not just survived, they have been transformed. And as the last shimmer of the Archangel fades into the golden horizon, you hear the whisper, one final time, steady, eternal, unending, walk forward. The door is open. You take a breath and step into the light. The light folds around you like a living embrace. Every breath feels like eternity, passing through you, soft, infinite, peaceful. You are no longer walking toward heaven, you are carrying it. Behind you, the silence glows. Ahead of you, destiny waits, not as mystery, but as music. The path hums with purpose, only your feet can follow. Somewhere unseen, wings stir once more. The Archangel's voice is gone, yet his promise remains a quiet echo inside your soul. Walk in light. You were always home. When the story settles into stillness now, you've walked through shadow, flame, silence, and song, and here you stand, radiant with understanding. The Archangel's light may have faded from sight, but the echo of his guidance lives within you. You have become what the message always intended, living light. This is where heaven hands the pen back to you. The next chapter is no longer written in prophecy, but in practice, through the choices you make, the kindness you give, the peace you protect. Every step you take from here continues the story heaven began. And if this journey touched something inside you, if at any point you felt seen, strengthened, or stilled, then let the ripple continue. When you like this message, it's like lighting one more candle in an endless cathedral of faith. A spark that tells the world, hope still burns. When you share, it's as though you open a window in a darkened room. The light that healed you escapes quietly and lands in places you may never see. But someone else will breathe easier because of it. When you subscribe, think of it as choosing to keep your lamp filled. You're saying, I want to keep hearing, keep growing, keep walking where light leads. Well, if your heart feels moved to donate, let it flow like water returning to the river that nourished it. It's not payment, it's participation. An act of gratitude that keeps these words reaching hearts still wandering in the dark. And if something sacred stirred in you along the way, leave a comment below. Let it be your echo, your small proof that light has found you here. Your words might be the sign someone else has been praying to see. No pressure, no demand, only invitation. Light moves best when it moves freely. So let it, share it, be it. Because you were never just a listener to this message. You were always part of its purpose.